Okay, so we're here with our test pilot of a podcast we have no name for.
Yeah, we forgot.
Because we forgot it. We can't, it was genius.
It was really good.
It was like essays would have been written on the clever
punnage of the title for years to come. It would have made us insta-famous. But instead
we forgot it because we're fucking idiots.
Forgot it.
Genuine embarrassments to humanity.
There's worse, but we come close.
Embarrassments, not like disappointments.
Speaking of which, let's embarrass ourselves more by putting ourselves on the internet.
Works for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so despite the fact that we have barely distinguishable voices...
Yep. This is two people. We are two different people.
Not just someone...
talking to himself.
There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you need. I'm Daniel. I'm the overly critical, monotone, complainy one.
I'm Hugh. I'm the upbeat, gonna suggest all the best stuff guy.
Yes. However, as somebody who takes writing a little bit too seriously, I will do my best to give some very specific criticisms that might come off as a bit, how can I put this nicely? I'm going to be a cunt about a lot of things.
I'm open to cunty feedback.
Like a lot of things. Because, you know, ideas aren't precious. It's all in the execution. That's my personal philosophy. Anyone can have ideas, not many people can execute them well.
I'm here to have ideas and execute them badly. That's basically
And I'm here to leech off his ideas, steal them for myself.
And do them better.
And maybe just apply that little bit of extra spit polish that comes from committing far too much of my life and money to going to university for an absolutely useless degree. Moving on. The whole idea of this little podcast of ours is to throw movie pictures at each other.
Yes.
Or sometimes, you know, pitches for other things. Video games, stories, whatever we're in the mood for.
Video game movies, video games.
Okay, let's not push the boat out too far.
Okay, fine.
But because we are corporate shills to the last, we're going to immediately bow to our Disney overlords and talk about Star Wars.
Because I'm not being funny. Like I say, my optimism is infinite, but most of that does come from watching Star Wars movies at a young age on repeat. Return of the Jedi, first one I saw at the cinema, and unpopular opinion, probably secretly my favourite. Despite the little space bears, it does everything that film needs to, and it sort of makes sense on its own despite being the final part of that trilogy.
And at the same time, it's a good moment in time to be interested in Star Wars, because it does feel a little bit like Disney happy to take any script written on the back of a napkin.
Yeah.
Just thrown at them casually.
So yeah, on that note, I wrote this in notes on my Mac, but you can put pictures
That's
in.
probably a little bit more like official Disney speed.
It's a high-tech napkin, basically.
Yeah. So here's the deal. You need to close your eyes for a moment and imagine that you're speaking to Mickey Mouse himself. I can't do the voice. Yeah, I can't
Close
do the
enough.
voice.
That wasn't even good.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, that was painful. Right.
You can't maintain that.
No. just trying to imagine Darth Vader with the ears. Anyway, Speaking of Darth Vader, present to me Darth Vader, a Star Wars story.
First thing, just to stop you there, mate.
Vader,
a Star Wars story.
The second I mowed it, the second it came out of my mouth, I felt it was wrong.
Some people want to call it Lord Vader, a Star Wars story, because I did a bit of internet research, make sure my idea wasn't just ripping off someone else's stupid other nonsense fan fiction. My fan fiction needed to be mine. Okay. And yeah, Vader, a Star Wars story, not Lord Vader and not Darth Vader, just Vader. Makes sense, especially with their Solo and Kenobi and Fett or whatever they're going to call that one.
Not Little Annie, the Star Wars story.
Little Annie, a Star Wars story.
To be fair, that's just episode 1. Let's keep this rolling.
True. So, just for context, I'm going to go through the opening scene in minutiae detail, and then later I will be sort of moving into a more just summary of the plot.
Start with the emotional pitch, the thing that's going to hook the audience, grab their attention.
It needs to be that. You need to have that opening scene do exactly that. So
absolutely that, because the first few moments of the original Star Wars Episode 4 were critical. Immediate giant space battle, and within a minute, Darth Vader is swooping around, being a baller. How does yours begin?
You have your credits, your opening THQs, that noise that I really like that happens at the beginning of all Star Wars movies. And then straight away, boom, Vader, a Star Wars story, Imperial March plays. The text fades away. You're looking at black. You can just make out these little squints, these little bright lights here and there. But there's something wrong about them. They're like not stars or they're out of focus. The camera pans down and a black screen is pierced by the sound of water dripping, which echoes through a narrow rocky tunnel, and it's the interior of a dank, dark cave.
With you so far?
The camera pans down even further to reveal a very narrow tunnel. There's a dim light at the end, and the camera begins to move forward. We reach the end of this passage and we find a small cave with 6 people in rag-like clothing sporting various injuries. These individuals are silent, huddled together due to lack of space and not choice, and none of them are looking at each other. Except one, who is gently and quietly bandaging another one's leg. and he is clearly the most messed up of the lot. And the one who's bandaging him is wearing a shawl, but is clearly female. Suddenly, the cave shakes, there's a loud crash, and our 6 nameless individuals are suddenly very alert and more than a little concerned by the disruption of their silence. The shawled female lifts the injured man and supports him with her shoulder as the other 4 push past into the corridor behind them. We see the faces of the other 4, and it's clear for the first time the majority of them are not human. Only the female and the male that we've had a bit of focus on are human. As the female follows, the camera pans down, reveals what is obviously a lightsaber hanging from her belt. Her and the injured man struggle to keep up with the other 4. As the crashes sort of speed up, they knock small flecks of debris from the ceiling. Slowly, it gets worse and worse. They follow the others, but they're, as I say, quite far ahead. And another crash feels even closer than the previous ones. The 2 strangers reach what looks like an exit just as the tunnel collapses behind them. They see the other 4 frozen at the exit. The exterior is a rain-drenched cliff face. They struggle into the midst of the group to see that about 30 feet ahead of them, at the cave mouth, they are encircled by stormtroopers, in the centre of whom is Darth Vader. Vader, open fire. He gives the order with a casual wave of his wrist, and the corner Jedi respond by clustering together, deflecting as many shots as they can, but 2 blasts break their defences and strike 2 of the defending Jedi. But these hits don't stop them, only slowing them down as the uninjured move forward into the formation to compensate for their injured comrades. The troopers stop to reload, and the 2 closest to Vader throw thermal detonators in. One of the Jedi uses the Force to push these projectiles back towards their aggressors, one falling directly at Vader's feet. The Jedi is visibly shaken when neither of them explode. The troopers take a step forward and once again open fire. It's obvious the troopers now have the upper hand, and begin to steadily advance, 1 step at a time. One of the Jedi breaks formation, hurls himself at the advancing troopers. He is gunned down and leaves an opening through which another Jedi is struck directly in the back. The remaining 4 are more like 3 due to their injured, but close their ranks and continue to put up a brave defence, even the injured man igniting his sabre and deflecting bolts on left flank from the floor. The troopers continue to advance and have reached less than 10 feet away. They stop once again to reload. Vader reaches out with the Force, grabs one of the defending Jedi and pulls them directly onto his lightsaber hilt as he ignites it. Another runs forward to face him, and in one move he dodges the swing of their sabre and grabs them by the throat, swiftly crushing it. Only the woman and the injured man remain. She looks at him and mouths the words, "I love you." The troopers open fire once again and she is torn apart before even hitting the floor. The injured man screams out in pain over his loss, drops his sabre and drags himself to her body, sobbing deeply. The troopers have stopped firing and a dark shadow moves over them. It is Vader, who slowly drops to one knee, bringing himself down to the level of this man who stares into the emotionless eyes of his Vader helmet. The sound of everything other than him and Vader fades into the background and is replaced by a low, steady tone, before being cut once again by the noise of the rain around them. The Jedi yells out, "I know who you are." There's a pause. Vader responds, "And I know your pain." He ignites his sabre through the injured man's chest, who tenses up before falling into his arms. He drops him to the floor with a dull thud and stands back up. He walks through the troopers and the camera cuts to black. Imperial March plays. Would you like a little bit more, or would you like me to stop there?
I'm curious to know what we're cutting to, because this sets up Vader as the protagonist of Vader, a Star Wars story, fantastically. But obviously, he can only be a part of the story. So, what are we cutting to? What's the yin to his yang?
Well, that comes a little later, really. It is very Vader-focused, but the thing it cuts to is the interior of his strike ship, the Scythe.
Okay, very Star Wars.
It's a grated floor. Troopers are sitting on either side. It's a bit like one of these American sort of Black Hawks, but bigger. And in the middle, there are 6 big metal coffins.
Interesting.
As I say, the troopers are on either side of the ship, but upon closer inspection, they're clearly not your average stormtroopers in the identical armour. One has what looks like crossed out stick figure Jedi on his helmet. There's another who has scraps of brown fabric covering what are normally the neon orange shoulder guards. One steps into the centre from the darkness at the front of the ship. His helmet has a red stripe, where the others are all blue, and his armour is old and worn, but decorated with a large number of additional insignias, including a large 501.
Okay, yeah.
He's clearly the leader. He leans against the 6 dark metallic rectangular boxes in the middle of the ship and knocks twice against one of them. Good job, lads. 6 Jedi, not a single casualty. That is unprecedented in these Jedi hunts, and Lord Vader is absolutely thrilled. Cut to Darth Vader in his private quarters. He is sat in a chair staring at his mud-caked knee. His peace and quiet is interrupted by a call.
Cut to Lord Vader. He is not thrilled.
He's just standing him. He doesn't. This was like, so you know, you get these things where it's the emotions and it's the Darth Vader mask. It's like happy, angry, sad.
Yes, it's all just the same.
Anyway, His peace and quiet is interrupted by a call. It's an Imperial officer. Lord Vader, one of our intelligence officers, has contacted us with a vital message. He believes the Emperor's life is in danger and wishes us to suspend our current mission and rendezvous with him immediately. Vader angrily interrupting. Our Emperor is quite capable of defending himself and will not require our assistance. We will continue with our current mission, or we may lose valuable time tracking and destroying the last Jedi in the galaxy, who pose more of a threat than any would-be assassins. Vader cuts the transmission, stands and goes to leave the room, clearly frustrated. But before he can leave, the transmitter bursts back into life and over his shoulder we see a hooded figure, clearly the Emperor himself. Vader! You are to suspend your current hunts and return to my side immediately. Is that understood? The door in front of him that he was going towards opens and 2 red Imperial guards step forward. Vader turns around to face the Emperor and kneels. Yes, my master. Good.
Okay.
The transmission ends and the doors close behind him. Vader stares at the dirt on his knee once again.
Are the 2 guards still just there?
The transmission ends and the doors close behind him.
Oh, right, I see. So...
And that's literally my in-depth...
That's your first 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah, easy.
With great
I'd say you
prosaic
could
detail.
Probably stretch that into a little bit more than that, if anything. But
So I feel that first sequence with the cave collapse and then being chased out onto the cliffside, that sounds like 3 minutes to me.
Okay.
I think you have the 60 seconds of establishing what's going on. You linger on that shot of the lightsaber on the belt. So everyone goes, it's a Jedi.
Oh, Jedi.
Because you need the signifier on screen, and then all of a sudden, boom, action, tension, everyone's rushing to get up. You've got your 15 seconds of frenzy and then escape for another 15 to 30 seconds.
One of the things I liked in Rogue One, the beginning bit where they're running through sort of the narrow streets of wherever it was, Jeddah, I want to say. I don't think that's right, but that might be right.
It's... I can't even remember the beginning of Rogue One.
Yeah,
but I know what you're talking about. When it's
that's
just
where Forrest Whitaker is, actually. That's called Jeddah, and there are some cool
It's
bits
the weird,
in the cave
cool-looking asteroid thing with the city on it, where the assassin guys running about. Yeah.
So I like those aesthetics.
How can you write a Star Wars story if you don't know the name of every last thing?
Yes, absolutely. I'm
Sorry,
sorry Disney, but you need to get better at keeping things simple there. Like, notice how I've not even named this planet they're on in the first place. Nobody cares, mate. Like, I'm not being funny. There is one important planet in that story, and that is where they go to next, and that is Naboo.
Wait, in your story?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Naboo is where the majority of Vader, a Star Wars story, happens because it's got lots of ties to Anakin/Vader himself. He's going to see things like statues of Amidala around the place and get upset. There's various opportunities for it to tie in.
And it's also where Sheev Palpatine is from. I see where you're going with this.
Which is why he's there.
He's got his summer house there.
Yep.
His retreat. He's got his fortified anti-assassination bunker there.
Yes. Sort of. No, actually totally not. In fact...
The big open target, come and assassinate me. This totally isn't a trap bunker.
The thing I've got next is that what would happen after that is we'd be introduced to 2 of Vader's 501 troopers.
Okay.
Both clones, Renya and Needles. Those are the names I've come up with, working titles.
Okay.
Who obviously love a good Jedi hunt, don't always agree with their commander, questioning why they must interrupt their current mission.
So just to clarify, the 501st are significant because I think, is it one of the animated shows? The 501st are the ones who first have to fight a traitorous Jedi?
Yes, but also what you're thinking of is the fact that when Vader, in 3, marches into
it's with
Jedi
the 501st,
Temple, they're the 501st, the ones with the blue stripes down their helmets.
So these...
At this point, they've been doing it a bit. They've been doing it a while. They're hunting down the last Jedi fragments at this point.
Okay.
There's no specific sort of date put on it, really.
My one question was going to be how visually decrepit are these clones? Because
No, they're visually distinguished. Like, each of them's got a little different thing about them. It's a bit like some of the Clone Wars stuff where, you know, when you'd have
they have their different identities.
Yeah, they definitely have set identities, and Renya and Needles and obviously Commander What's-His-Face are the main 3 that we're going to deal with.
Okay,
The others are sort of background, but they've got, like I say, cool different outfits.
Yeah. Team Vader. Vader himself. 2 of his clone buddies.
Pretty much it. Those are the ones he goes to, which we'll come to later.
I like that. Did you say it was 2 and a commander, or...?
No, just the 2.
Just
Vader
the 2.
will be their commander.
Okay.
He will go to these 2 clone troopers later and ask for their help specifically.
Okay.
Main reason being Needles having a serious grudge against the Jedi and being the one who actually... He was the clone trooper who was out hunting Jedi on his own, who's been drafted in sort of a thing, or that's the story to him. Can deal with that in more detail later when I write it properly. So the next thing that would happen would be that Vader would meet this intelligence agent on some sort of a space station who explain the Emperor's strongest enemies have organised this assassination attempt, and it may be being led by a Jedi Master. Vader and his 501 then go to Naboo.
Question.
Yep.
Does that need to be exposition, Or can we then cut to a Jedi Master preparing an assassination against the Emperor?
No, that comes later. The Jedi Master doesn't come into it way, way, way later.
Okay, is that a dramatic reveal that you're waiting to show?
Yes.
Okay, but does it need to be kind of... Is it necessary for the story and the way that you handle the reveals that this is kind of a sluggish exposition?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
So the Emperor is there on Naboo to put an end to a civil war between the Imperials on the surface and the Gungans and the other native aliens who have turned up in Gungan City. Don't worry, there's not too much of them. I see you cringe.
I was about to say...
Just excuse for them to be there.
I don't know if the microphone picked up my disturbed sigh.
Yeah,
and mention
he
of the
fully
word
physically
Gungan.
cringed when I said the word Gungan.
I think I just lost about a year off my life at the thought of that.
The good news is, there'll be lots of bits of them getting killed really horribly. I've thought about it, and that's what people want, and that's what's going to happen. Not Jar Jar himself, but I'd quite like it. There's going to... Anyway. So,
I mean, isn't he Senator for Naboo?
The opening scene...
That's okay.
That's true.
Okay, back
So,
in...
The Emperor's making a speech about finally having a lasting peace on Naboo, which is intercut with scenes of a massacre in one of the forests of one of the native rebel groups.
I like it.
Followed by Vader and Emperor having a
very
serious
Godfather.
discussion about loyalty and the bond between Sith Master and apprentice. Vader queries what happened to Palpatine's master and is shut down, told not to question that again. Vader knows, obviously, that Palpatine killed him, and it becomes clear from this sort of line of questioning that he wants to do something similar, and he's basically telling him he's going to. The Emperor's Royal Guard always seem to be nearby Vader as well. There's always one of them somewhere just over his shoulder in all these bits.
I can visualise that as like a cool shot composition where he's obviously a huge black like pyramid triangle on the screen at all times.
And then there's a
you just got a skinnier red one, just out of focus in the background somewhere.
And also, I do like. There's a picture of them here. The visual design on those guys is just so great. Use it as often as possible.
Okay, so we've got a cool helmet. Can we design any more? Just give them a big cape.
Big cape. Red helmet.
Do we need anything else? Give them a stick and a cape.
Potentially, there would be a bit later on because they do actually do some stuff where you would see what they've got on underneath. Well, it would just be sort of a samurai-inspired red suit of armor with various.
I do think that they'd show up without their robes in something. I want to set rebels again.
So Vader takes the two stormtroopers, Needles and Rainier, to one side and explains he needs them to be his personal guard in this mission, and he may ask them to make some difficult decisions, but will grant them anything they desire should they obey him.
Do they then tell him what they want?
Rainier is seeking power, Needles is seeking vengeance. Vader likes these two.
Okay.
So Rainier would be asking for, like, command. He wants command out from under, obviously, Mr. Decorated. And Needles just wants Vader to help with getting all the Jedi. And he's already doing that. And he's like, sweet, I like these two. Like, there's a moment where you could have him do the thing. Like, Vader, when he's happy, just sort of tilts his head backwards. You could have him do that as he walks away, for example.
Mission accomplished. Yeah. I feel that those two, if they're going to be as vital to the plot as I think they are, they're going to need some very, very specific goals. Being like up in command is okay, but specifically, maybe, I mean, I'm spitballing here, but I feel that there needs to be a very personal element to both of these characters to give them that kind of humanising element.
Well,
and they need to be absolute dicks.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
The thing is,
there's the one who loves killing people and there's the one who loves the power games, because those are the two specific military types of dick that I've got in mind, and they are very reflective of that.
Okay.
So the next scene is negotiations between all the Naboo natives and the Empire. You could have like an equivalent Bossy Nass type person, or maybe even, dare I say it, Jar Jar Binks cameo. And he is talking to the Emperor, whoever this leader of the natives.
Wait, talking directly to the Emperor?
Or some sort of person in charge.
I was about to say a representative.
Sure, because...
a Moff type.
The sad thing is, actually, it does sort of need to be the Emperor.
Curious.
Because these negotiations are interrupted by a rather large bomb. Vader gets to do the bodyguard thing and leap in the way of the Emperor and save him.
So, unfortunately, this is a moment of large criticism. In terms of what we know about the characters as they've been established, this scene is impossible because the Emperor's never on the front lines.
No, but
he's never doing stuff himself. He's never negotiating himself. He has emissaries. He has Vader as his right-hand man to do these things. He himself would never get involved.
Negotiation, it's more of a surrender on part of the other people, so that I feel he would be there for. He would be there willing to sort of accept that.
I cannot think of a single moment that I know from Star Wars, including like extended university bits that aren't canon or whatever anymore. And I'm a big old nerd. I can't think of any moment where the Emperor willingly puts himself on the front line, except for Return of the Jedi. when he brings Luke to him. And that's not putting himself on the front line. That's bringing the enemy to his secret evil dungeon of death.
Okay, so at this point, considering it's a surrender, that is sort of, I guess, what's happening a little. So it's in the Naboo throne room. He can be sat at the back. Maybe we've got someone who's the voice piece of the Emperor doing the actual talk.
So you know how in Return of the Jedi, seeing as it is your favourite Star Wars movie, you know how he's got all the attendants who sort of look like him? Have it be a stand-in for the Emperor, which would be weird because that's the opening of Episode 2, where a fake Amidudar gets murdered.
Yeah, he doesn't need to get killed anyway. Vader's whole point, and this brings into other things later, is that he is going to step in. Again, this isn't the most fleshed out. Literally, all it says here on my page is negotiations between the natives and the Empire are happening following the massacre of their largest force. Negotiations are bombed, and Vader leaps in and saves the Emperor.
The negotiations were short.
Yes. So maybe it doesn't need to be the Emperor. Maybe you're right. Maybe it can be some other guys. But this facilitates Vader and his troopers. It can be the two main ones and a couple of others, let's say. Oh, and some royal guards, because let's have them in the chase because they're cool. They give chase to the assailants throughout the war-torn streets of Naboo. It can be a bit of a riot happening as a result of this bombing. And they can, maybe, I've written here, they kill 2 in the pursuit, but the others escape. And it's clear that they have a powerful Jedi on their side. So maybe they get out of the way of some sort of big falling building that's been force pushed into the way of them, something like that. Vader can't recognise who this Jedi is, as they are using dark side techniques, and it's masking their identity.
Dark side clouds all things.
Absolutely.
Interesting. So, again, key elements from this. I mean, my initial gut reaction is that Vader doesn't chase, but we'll get back to that later. That'd be a cool moment maybe to see what the Jedi Hunter troopers are capable of rather than Vader himself. What it sounds like you're setting up is essentially a detective thriller starring Darth Vader.
Kinda.
Which I'm fine with, totally on board for.
Okay.
What needs to happen is you have your big action open sequence.
Yep.
And then you have the kind of lull where you establish that there is a long-term ongoing crisis.
Yep.
So in this case, it's the Emperor maybe he's had a vision of some kind or whatever. There's multiple ways you can do it with the Emperor. Bring it back to the Force maybe makes it a bit more Star Warsy, rather than saying, my spies tell me.
Well, I think it's
even better, have him say to Vader, my spies tell me this, and later have him say, I had a vision, and Vader go, but you told me your spies told me this, bringing that distrust element. But I like bits and pieces of it so far. There's elements of it which feel incongruous with the characters, but you've got a lot of story elements that I can't see the end of yet. And that's why I think they feel a little bit weird to me right now.
Yes.
But to you, they make more sense because you know where they're going, and I want you to tell me where they're going, basically. Okay. So, your dark side Force guy, is it a new character or is it fan service?
I'll come back to that.
Okay, Calv Katan it is.
Yeah. So Vader and Palpatine would then have a chat following this chase. So I quite like the idea of removing them from it, because having a hard cut after this building falls over to just Vader and Emperor at a table, maybe the Emperor can be eating while Vader just stares at him. Because that's, again,
there's a meal in front of him and he's just like, you son of a bitch.
Exactly. It's a power play thing. It's very...
that's very Sheev.
Yeah, and so they're discussing the new threat, and first thing the Emperor can say is that there is no way one powerful Jedi could defeat the two of us together. And Vader can sort of go on from there and say he's concerned by the fact that he's using the dark side, they can't tell who he is, but also, internally, Vader wants to take advantage of this situation, have whoever this person is all but defeat the Emperor, then step in and defeat the Emperor. Maybe the way to convey it is to have the Emperor sort of babble on about how Vader would never betray him, and Vader just go, yes.
So, Vader, as your protagonist, his primary motivation is, I really fucking hate the Emperor right now.
Yes.
Kill him. Kill him dead, proper. Okay, so, Vader wants to kill the Emperor. There is an antagonist out there who is attempting to assassinate the Emperor.
Yes. So, he's going to try and take advantage of the chaos and do exactly what he wants.
Interesting.
The next thing I've got is that Vader has a quiet moment, and this will be regenerating his back tank. This was why I had the idea of him being involved in the chase, because I thought that would facilitate this.
Him needing to
go recharge his batteries or whatever and chill out for a bit.
Okay, I have a feeling he needs to do that anyway.
Absolutely, I was going to say, that needs to happen anyway, so he can have sort of a portable one that's a bit shit, or like, there's some really cool concept art I've got here from Rogue One where he's actually half in the bath and half not. I really like that. I think that looks cool. I think that's a missed opportunity not doing it. If you look at the bigger one down there, the idea is that's it as it drains. But I quite like the idea of it being like a Vader hot tub.
Hot tub Vader, yeah.
Hot tub Vader. While he's doing this, he's mostly asleep, and he has a vision of Padme, who asks, what he has become, why he's betrayed her and everything they stood for and tried to build. He's not going to say much in response to her because he's got his big mask thing on and he physically can't talk. So it's not going to be very long, and it's going to have him close his eyes and then her be walking away. And as she walks away, there will be a Jedi on either side of her. One in a light brown cloak, one in a dark brown cloak.
Okay.
So, he's now convinced there may be 2 Jedi, but maybe this has bigger, overarching themes. Anyway.
When you say maybe this has bigger overarching themes, is this you saying, I know that there are bigger overarching themes here? Mm-hmm. Okay, but Vader is yet to discover them.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
So, he's now convinced there are 2 Jedis involved and tells the Emperor, who, as always, shuts him down and tells him not to be sort of weighed down by Anakin Skywalker's weakness.
Can I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Which I have a feeling you might do anyway. Immediately after the Emperor tells him, shut up, Vader, you dumb lord, he goes and tells Needles, or one of these 501st troopers, exactly the same thing and gets a positive response from a fellow soldier, almost.
Well,
because I think that would be an interesting contrast.
That I do like, because I've then got a bit of a gap where I don't know what will happen before I go into my
the
final.
early Act 2 problem. Think of it this way. You've got your intro, or your prologue, which you've already established. Vader hunts some Jedis, Jedis get hunted. Easy. It causes Vader to have some kind of... You were describing how he had the I know your pain moment. So he hunts some Jedis, Jedis get hunted, Vader has a moment of introspection about his role in the galaxy and killing all of the Jedi. Is this a good idea? Bit committed now. So that's your prologue. Act 1. Vader discovers, brackets, is outright told, there's assassination attempts on the Emperor.
Yep.
Perhaps at this point it's not, oh, they're coming, I've had a vision, there's spies. It's, one's almost happened. Have an inciting event and have the Emperor be, like, super pissy about it. Because he's...
Well, that would explain the guy's telling him... I like maybe that more for my whole thing of the guy telling him and him going, no, I'm not doing that shit. And then the Emperor instantly coming in going, Vader!
Yeah. So... You're basically, at the end of Act 1, you then need a reveal, which can be this attack on the Emperor or Emperor's envoy or whatever that Vader is present for, along with his soldiers. And there is a reveal that is, maybe they are using the Force, and it's not just the Force, dark side Force. There's your Act 1 reveal. Act 2 is essentially, by the sound of your almost psychological thriller Vader story, is where you start detectiving, and you have a bit more of an exploration of Naboo as a place. And perhaps you set up 2 or 3 key elements that are part of the locale. So maybe there's the old throne room. That would be a good one for Vader to know about, because easy Episode 1 flashback, places where both Padme and Palpatine have been.
You said no flashbacks.
I meant callback, not flashback. Also, you've got a Force vision, and that's close. When I think of these things for the record, I try and imagine, how would you do that without getting Natalie Portman involved? My answer would be, have a really good impressionist do the voice and don't have the visual.
Well, also, I'm not being funny, they had lots of people who impersonated her and stuff anyway, and when you can have her in full Queen makeup and stuff, because that can be quite cool anyway.
Or just only see the back of her, something like that. She's turned her back on Anakin, visual storytelling. What was I talking about? So you need a reveal at the end of Act 2 that's going to lead into your big climax. Here is how I think this story would progress naturally for me. End of Act 2, Vader catches a Jedi, and they spout all sorts of shit about, I'm not trying to assassinate the Emperor. Vader's like, well, what the fuck? Who's assassinating the Emperor then? He's like, my master, who's gone on a course of revenge that I'm trying to steer him away from. So you have a Jedi, and you have Vader, now with a similar goal. To stop the rogue Dark Jedi.
Except because it's Vader, I don't see him doing anything other than killing this other Jedi.
Oh, no, that's exactly it. You build up to a potential partnership, and you have Vader be all like, no, we're going to be great chums. And then just have him send the clones in to kill the kid, whatever. Have that kind of shock moment for the audience where it's like, oh, we see the redemptive qualities of Anakin, and he's dead. He's gone. That would be a nice little plot twist, and then a further
the other thing I quite
subversion.
like is the idea of him going, Needles, who's my one who hates the Jedi.
I can't imagine James Earl Jones's voice saying Needles unironically.
One of the reasons I've picked it, because I think it's quite funny. So I really like that. I'm definitely including that. That's
okay.
Cool. The interrogation and the idea that there's some detective work first, and that to catch him, he has to sort of be doing the same detective work that this other person is doing. And then at first it's a genuine sort of conversation between the two. And then maybe he asks him, but who is he? And he goes, I'm never going to tell you that. And then he's like, Needles.
See, to me, that's not... I wouldn't even have Vader call the clone in. Just have a kind of like, I'm never telling you that. And just, very well, sweeps out the room. The clones enter, cut there. You don't need to know what happens to the Jedi. We know
cool.
he's been brutally murdered by the people who enjoy murdering Jedi. Then on from that, I have a feeling that I've kind of taken over your...
No, because this is where I was missing stuff, so this is cool, because I need maybe one more thing before the final showdown.
Okay.
And I can't quite figure out what that should be yet, but if anything, it could be more stuff with the Emperor and Vader.
So, to me, how do you... I feel like Vader at this point, he's done the chase, he's done the detective work, and he's gone, screw that, I'm not about that. Let's make this evil Dark Jedi come to me. Set up, essentially, a trap for this enemy, and the Emperor is bait. Yeah. Unknowing bait. And Vader and Emperor have these conversations, and Emperor's like, oh, you're hiding something from me. It's like, you have to trust me to do my job, boss man. I reckon there could be some really good tense moments there.
So... the idea of the Emperor being bait, I really like. And I like the idea of him setting up and saying, don't worry, you'll be fine. I'm there to protect you.
See, I wouldn't even have the Emperor know that he's going to be bait. I would have it be that, this Dark Jedi shows up and the Emperor kind of... how to phrase this? Because the problem is you don't want to rob Vader of his agency in the story by having the Emperor successfully defend himself. Oh, no. Like, Vader, the fuck you doing?
So, should we go to the attack?
Okay, carry on. I've just thought of something that's quite interesting, but let's see where you take this.
The Emperor is attacked the following night, and Vader and his 2 troopers rush to defend him. Vader tells the troopers to hold back and strike when the time is right. Once he is gone, Needles grabs Renya by the throat and stabs him to death.
Okay.
Vader walks into a room where the walls are coated with fire and defeated royal guards litter the floor. The last 2 are defending the Emperor by fighting a hooded figure wielding a purple lightsaber. It is a scarred and deformed Mace Windu.
Plot twist. Carry on.
He dispatches the 2 royal guards with his lightsaber prowess and his robotic arm and moves to attack the Emperor.
Personal opinion? Don't give him a robotic arm, just have him be one-armed.
That's really cool too, but I also like robot arms.
That's fair enough. But we've already got Vader, he's got 2 of them.
One of the best things about that Clone Wars cartoon is Punchy Sam Jackson. I like the idea of him punching a hole through one of these royal guards with his robot arm.
Yeah, but he's doing that with the Force, not through physical things, so...
But again, he's got the dark side.
This is a reference to the, 2003 or something? Super early 2D animated.
Yes, not the
There's a 3-minute short in there where Mace Windu is on this big...
all of the fucking battle droids that he can. It's amazing.
Yeah, he loses his lightsaber.
And he punches everything.
And he punches droids to pieces, and it's some fantastic visuals, and yes, I would like that in a live-action thing. I feel that you have to make a choice there of either having him... robot hand for punching and kicking. I feel like you have to make a decision between... Well, it's simple, right? He either has the one-handed, iconic, armless character element, or he has the icon of the robot hand, which has been kind of done before, and that's why I'm a bit wary of it. Because if you remember a lot of the marketing for, say, Force Awakens and Last Jedi, it focuses a lot on Luke's robot hand.
This is going to be a recurring thing. So here's the slightly different thing about this. This is going to be a beast of a robot hand. This is going to be a war robot hand. This is not going to be a functional looking normal
you know how you do that?
This thing's going to be like part of a super battle droid.
I was just about to say, just have it be part of the super battle droid. Actually, just that he's like strapped to his arm.
Done, because then he gets
Watch those wrist rockets.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Okay, we've converged our paths of thought. I like it. Okay, so you somehow managed
squaring up.
You've managed to somehow get Samuel L. Jackson involved again. Excellent.
Of course I have. He wants to do it.
Perfect.
So Sam Jackson, Mace Windu, is back. He is all messed up. He has this super battle droid arm. He's wearing basically his iconic robes, but obviously they're all messed up. He can have like battle sort of almost a Chewbacca belt across the front of him. It can be clear that he means serious business here.
He's guerrilla fighter Jedi. Yeah.
And he has kept his identity and his presence a secret for however long since the fall of the Jedi Order, because he has felt personally responsible for it because he failed his mission to kill Palpatine. So he spent the whole time plotting on how he's going to do Palpatine in, and one of the ways he's done that is he has studied the dark arts himself. And he is basically at this point, almost fully, given himself to the dark side because he wants revenge. He is not doing this for Jedi reasons, really. He feels responsible, but he wants revenge. Because they took his arm, they took all his friends, they took his way of life, they took his full belief system and his church, and they burned everything to the ground. So he is fully furious. The scowl on Sam Jackson's face is going to be CGI enhanced.
Okay.
So
for the record, I can already hear in my mind as Sam Jackson waves his lightsaber and dispatches the last two, and it's just him and the Emperor. I can already hear Ian McDiarmid going, good, good.
No.
Really?
Instead,
interesting.
He is very, very concerned about this because this is not something he had planned for. He's very good at planning for everything, but this is not something he had planned for, and he knows there is no way out of this for him other than death, except if Vader is by his side. That is the only way he is going to defeat Mace Windu. Lord Vader.
Okay.
Help me, says the Emperor. Vader looks at him, switches off his lightsaber.
I begin to have problems here, but carry on.
Windu and the Emperor have a fierce duel, and the Emperor is soundly defeated. Windu even deflecting his lightning, but before the final blow can be struck, Vader interrupts. No, I will destroy him myself. So another fierce battle commences.
My doubts are tripled, carry on.
We see echoes of lightsaber battles past and future in how the combatants move, attack and defend against each other. That's one of the things that I quite like visually about it, because you'd be able to get bits from the Sam Jackson Emperor fight. You'd be able to have elements of the way that sort of the Obi-Wan... And
as long as it
Darth
wouldn't,
Vader
like,
fights.
impede on doing original choreography, but I see what you're talking about. They have their distinct styles of
Absolutely.
spinning and screeching.
And so it would be a neat midpoint of old Anakin and later Vader, as well as lots of, let's call it, prequel-era lightsaber fighting style from Sam Jackson, Mace Windu.
Yeah. So
Windu is disarmed, and he states he must defeat the Emperor as he is the last hope of the galaxy. Vader retorts that he is all the hope the galaxy needs, swings his lightsaber, but is cut short by Mace Windu unleashing a barrage of Force lightning.
yeah, I had a feeling you were going to do some Windu lightning, carry on.
He fully unloads into Vader, shorting out his armour, cracking one of the lenses on his helmet. Battle damaged Vader. We see one
Merchandising accomplished, carry
Fantastic. And robot arm Sam Jackson. What more do you want from me, Disney? We see one of Vader's eyes, and it becomes clear that this is seriously injuring him, possibly killing him, and he will soon die from this. Not just possibly killing him, actually killing him.
Yeah.
So it hasn't been established at this point that the Force lightning is very, very bad, and it will break his suit, it will kill him. Return of the Jedi does, but at this point for Vader, he's not experienced that Force lightning hitting him before, so...
Yes, he has. Dooku does it in episode 2. That's
No, with his robot suit.
Okay, that's different. If you can somehow visually tell that escalation of danger, cool.
So it goes from angry eye to panic eye, basically, and we'll see that in whoever we get doing...
I mean, the way I imagine that is, lightning, and just bits of the robot Vader just breaking off.
Yeah, pop, crack.
Yeah, exactly.
Crack,
fingers.
Pop.
Yeah.
The chest piece explodes.
Yep.
I quite like the idea of that.
Get some wheezy Vader.
He's fucked.
Okay.
The lightning is still coming. Out of nowhere, there is a blaster shot that strikes Windu in the back. Out walks Needles, who fires at Windu's arms and legs, fully incapacitating him and dropping him to his knees. He does this in the space of no time whatsoever. The guy is in absolute pride.
Pew, pew, pew.
Vader knows this guy's good, but even he is slightly surprised by quite how good and vicious this guy is when it comes to this. Windu's response is, do you know who I am? Yes, and I can't imagine you've forgotten me either. Takes his helmet off, showing the face of a young but battle-scarred clone trooper. You killed my daddy in front of me when I was 9 years old, Master Jedi.
Okay. Reveal after reveal.
Windu stutters, unable to convey what may be an apology. Needles, brackets Boba Fett, draws one of Jango Fett's blasters and blows Windu away.
Okay, that's a genuine surprise. I like it. I feel like the actual dialogue needs some workshopping, but I appreciate the sentiment. How does Boba Fett know Darth Vader?
Thank you.
Done. Cleanly done as well. I'm impressed.
Right?
If you
Double reveal. That's how you keep the reveal secret. It's a double reveal.
Yes. So one obvious visual storytelling element that would be very different from the beginning to hint at this would be that your two Clone Trooper 501st people, one would look significantly younger.
Well, they don't take the helmets off. Well, they could, and maybe
Maybe do it in separate scenes. They don't need to be next to each other, but have that juxtaposition. So those three guys in the back row who are watching the film for the fourth time go, oh yeah.
Being clean cut and not having anything wrong with him, and Needles being the battle damaged guy who's been through the... Because if you think about, the idea of what Boba Fett was up to, he was doing loads of mad shit.
Oh no, I completely agree with that. Have him be battle scarred, but also remember that he doesn't have the age accelerants.
Oh yeah.
That the other clones do. That's why I said have him look younger.
No, okay, I'd forgotten about that, and I like it, and yes. All the yes.
And I mean, you can
justify that as just him saying...
Yeah, he's a later generation clone trooper, something like that.
Sweet. So my end from there is you've got Fett standing over the dead Windu. You've got Vader and then Palpatine and this building on fire behind them, and the camera can slowly pan out, fade to black. Because you don't need anyone picking anyone out, that's boring. So, you then cut to, again, much like before, Vader and the Emperor are talking. But this time it's clearly aboard Vader's ship, so the Emperor has come to him, it's a sign of respect, but they're discussing what's occurred. And Vader asks the Emperor how he will be punished for his treason, and the Emperor laughs at him. He would be disappointed if Vader had acted any other way, and he is proud of the Sith he is becoming. But he will never defeat him, and he will never let anyone kill him, as he does not want to be truly alone, and without him that's what Vader would be, alone. The Emperor leaves and Boba Fett walks in. Vader simply, "Thank you, Fett." "Don't thank me, pay me."
Yeah.
"But if you need me again," slides card with famous Mandalorian skull, "call me."
Okay. Again,
You can change that.
the dialogue's a bit stilted, but
It's the
it's the premise that I like.
Also, I feel like this is me doing a deliberate callback to sort of the end of the Batman Begins movie with the card.
Yeah.
It's deliberately me referencing that.
Boba Fett will return in Fett, a Star Wars story.
Exactly. I'm not being funny about this. Like, I'm setting up all the things. I'm giving them all the merchandising ideas. I'm letting them have little Lego sets. I'm, selling off the coasters like you've got over there. I'm doing all of that. This is a complete package, Disney. And like Boba Fett says at the end of the film, call me.
So my one question with the double reveal.
Yes.
How does Needles know it's going to be Mace Windu?
Because he's been tracking him for a while.
Okay.
And
that needs to be established very early on then.
The idea is, this is something I sort of skipped over a little bit, is when he asks for vengeance, I didn't sort of elaborate on this enough. Like, so I say, Renya asks for power, Needles asks for vengeance.
Okay.
The idea is that he's after one specific Jedi. There is one Jedi he wants dead.
So...
And he's not going to tell Anakin / Vader, who that is, because it's A, necessary as a reveal in the film for it to be a surprise, and B, it needs to be something that he takes personally, and I feel like he would go to that much effort for him, and it makes sense that he would join up with like the hardest gang of
Jedi murderers
in the galaxy, because he's practicing.
Yep.
It means he's got a squad of people around him for when that situation eventually comes together that he can either work with or against, depending on the situation. He's covering a lot of the bases here. And also, I like the idea of him hiding amongst the clones. I know that's been done before in either Clone Wars or Rebels. I can't remember which it is.
So, I feel like if you're going to do that, because I mentioned one of the things that you need a very specific personal reason for the troopers to get involved, and I'm glad that it turns out that that's exactly what you had in mind.
He's the secret hero of the story.
Yes. The thing is, the way I would frame that from a storytelling perspective is when Vader says, I'll give you anything you want to help me find this Jedi, instead of saying, I want or whatever, to do this mission for
The idea
him.
is that he's picking these two guys personally, and he doesn't say it, but what he is saying is, I'm going to kill the Emperor, and you will have my back, okay?
Yes, that's it.
Because they're the rowdy ones, and they're the ones that he feels if there are any that are going to break rank, it's going to be these two.
I would frame it as when Vader says, what do you want? Have Needles Fett say, rather than, I want revenge, have him say, you already know what I want. And have that be a lead-in for the audience going, well, what does he want? So you get that moment where he's got a dead Mace Windu at his feet. He can turn to Vader and say, our deal's done. I've got what I want. Here's my card. Peace. Jetpack. Woo.
He's only good to be dead.
Yeah. I'm going to need that one in carbonite. For my wall.
Yeah.
Epilogue, Boba Fett, still helmet on, having a cup of tea.
But in his pants and his dressing gown.
Yep. Back,
Feet,
jetpack.
Bob, A feet. Ah, yes, my package is here, and it's Mace Windu. Yeah, I'm ready for that.
Just puts the lightsaber on his mantelpiece on a little stand.
And I'm very glad you had the idea of doing a bit more detective work on the Vader side, because I really couldn't figure out what to do at that point, because I was a bit blanked with it, because I was like, I know I've got quite a good opening, I know I've got quite a good setup, and I know that obviously the chase scene could go on for a bit, and that actually does give, like, the fact that it is Boba Fett later means that you can lean more into Needles as the POV for that chase sequence as well.
You can also have it, actually, if you want a triple reversal for when Needles brutally murders Renya, have Renya be the trooper who takes the lead in the chase and is incredibly useful there. And we're like, wow, this is a really coherent team of friends and he's murdered him.
Yeah.
Oh, why? Why did he murder? Oh, to be fair, why did he murder him?
Nothing was going to get in his way.
Yeah.
And The other thing that I thought of for this bit, which I ended up going against and just having it be the way it was when it happens the way it does and where it does, you're thinking that he's going to kill Darth Vader. So it's to set that up instead. And it's like, but why would he do this, etc.? It's to make the audience go, but why? The idea is that he doesn't want Renya in his way. He doesn't want Renya stepping in and defending the Emperor. Doesn't want him stepping in and defending Vader. He wants to be able to strike exactly when he wants to. And, okay, he could knock him out, but I don't think that's as visually exciting or as in Boba Fett's character is stabbing the fuck out of this pretty boy. Yeah.
So here is something I would do to handle this situation. Is when Vader recruits Renya, it's very obvious Renya would be like a little bit too eager to help. And then perhaps have a moment where, Palpatine and Vader in their little word battles, Palpatine's like, oh yes, I've spoken to some of those under your command, or, I know some of those under your command. And have it be the kind of like, yeah, Renya would totally kill Vader for the Emperor. And have a kind of like watch your back Vader bit, so that when you get that moment of Needle stabbing the shit out of him, it's like, oh no, Vader's being quadruple-crossed. But really, it's a South African bounty hunter all along. All along.
Bob A. Feet the whole time.
Okay, you've just gotten 2 actors to continue cashing Star Wars paychecks. Well, 4, technically.
And all of them are up for it, and we know this. The only thing I didn't do was bring in Darth Maul, which would have been too much. That would have been way too many, and they've already done that.
I was about to say, apparently he's in Solo anyway, isn't he?
Yeah.
Which we haven't seen.
Damn it, we're not supposed to say that. That way Disney will be upset with us now. Good job, they're not going to buy our script.
I have a set of questions to focus the argument and the debate and the ideas into more kind of like classic storytelling concerns.
He's trying to make me better and make my fan fiction less fanny and more fictiony.
Sure, you could phrase it that way. So, our protagonist is Darth Vader. Most protagonists, if not all protagonists, have to go through some kind of radical change throughout the story. Otherwise, why are we following them and their struggles?
Yeah.
Why do we care about their struggles if it's not changing them? So, how is Darth Vader different from the beginning of the story to the end?
He's a lot more self-assured. He's less paranoid. He's less upset by everything. He sort of, and I know that this is going to sound a bit sweepy, but he sort of accepts his place in the galaxy by the end of the movie.
So at the beginning, he's kind of got this weakness where he's doubting his choices, and you say he has the vision with Padme and all this.
Essentially.
Okay, and the ending...
He gets annoyed at himself because he can't stop it from happening, and the opening example of that is that he kills this guy after saying something to him, and he's like, why didn't I just kill him? I shouldn't have said that thing. I feel like, if anything, killing him was actually kind of a mercy. Yeah. That's not a Sith thing to do. I should have maybe let him suffer.
And by the end of the film, because one of the things that drove Anakin to madness, or whatever you want to call it, is the hypocrisy of the Jedi, seeing Mace Windu, a Jedi Master, turn to the dark side to achieve his objectives, he sees that, you know what, I was absolutely right. This is exactly what they were going to do.
And it doesn't matter that I've done it, punch. As long as I stick by my moral guns.
Yep.
Which
I'm better than you, Windu.
And worse and worse the whole time. And no, that's the thing. He is, but he isn't better than Windu. Windu wins with a cheap shot, so he is better than him, but he's not as conniving. So that's another thing that he sort of maybe has learned.
We're not talking about like combative nature. We're just talking about morals and philosophies, where Windu's had to do a complete 180 to win, whereas Anakin's just fallen deeper into
where he was already going,
where he was being led. So another question: we've got an antagonist. In this case, we've got Mace Windu, and I mentioned the idea of having like an apprentice show up.
But also, really, not being funny, the Emperor.
So I would describe a film like this as having a main antagonist, which would be Mace Windu, the one who is causing all of the problems for the hero. I would describe the apprentice character as like a secondary antagonist in that same group. And following that, I would not really describe the Emperor as a direct antagonist, but more of as a kind of like a fake opponent, where really he's an ally by the end of it, but he acts as an opponent to try and like goad the protagonist into bettering themselves.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what's happening.
Because really, I know that this isn't necessarily the truth within their story, but really the Emperor wants Vader to be better. Yeah, exactly. He wants him to be the best murdering psychopath possible. So, with that said, how does the antagonist attempt to prevent the hero from reaching their goal? But we've already kind of established from what you've said so far, Vader's goal in the film is to protect the Emperor.
But also maybe to kill him. But
mostly to protect him for general... For marketing, you would say assassination attempts against the Emperor, Vader's protecting him, a deep mystery is unraveled.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that, right? So, the antagonist is Mace Windu. He does the assassination attempts, which is the direct opposite
There are
of...
3 of... gradually growing more successful, because there's the off-screen one that you've decided needs to be in there.
The inciting event that panics the Emperor, yeah. And then there's the one at the end of Act 1, which is, this is actually a thing for the audience and for Vader also.
Which can lead to some cool, through the streets, gunfighting against these rebels. And, like I say, I like the idea...
And the realisation that they're against a Jedi.
I quite liked the idea of having Vader involved and the Emperor, but I also think, like you say, it does work maybe even slightly better without them. However, I think Vader needs to be there when the explosion happens, and maybe the explosion does take him down, and maybe that's why he's in the back to tank.
I would probably have it that he dispatches the clones to do the dirty work whilst he actually checks on the Emperor. Something like that.
Okay.
Because his priority isn't to catch these people necessarily, it's to stop the Emperor from being dead. And having his minions go out and do the dirty work would probably make sense. And also, is there ever a scene of Vader running anywhere?
No, but he walks quickly.
Yeah, but I can't imagine him being useful in a chase, that's all.
Well, no, the way he's useful in a chase, and you don't really need to have this make too much sense timeline-wise, because let's assume they are running in a weird angle over the streets. Let's assume that Vader knows Naboo very, very well. Let's have him be an intercept point. He is up on some big balcony somewhere, and he does the swishy Darth Vader jump down, slow down, lands perfectly.
Are you thinking Batman Begins again?
Yeah.
So
Vader Begins, mate. This is what this is.
Yeah.
Only with less Liam Neeson, sadly. I couldn't figure out...
he could be the apprentice.
No.
No.
He's definitely dead.
Yeah.
You can
he was Qui-Gon, what am I saying?
You can only bring back so many people.
Yeah.
And he was burned alive. The Star Wars rule is if they're burned...
He wasn't alive.
Yes.
They cremated him, that's not...
They did cremate him, sorry.
Yeah, they give him some voice acting in some of the cartoons.
He's a spooky Force ghost. But...
Yeah. Again, tangents are happening. End of Act 1 is an actual assassination attempt.
Which, like I say, we don't see, or is that...
No, Act 1 is the one you would see.
The second one?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
And then Act 2 is, it looks like there's one that we found out about and we can follow the breadcrumb trail.
Yeah.
But, it's a misdirect because we don't find the assassin, we find his apprentice. Okay.
He's not really a proper Jedi, and Vader easily puts down...
He's a decoy. Mace Windu has actually left him to die because it will serve his own goals. More dark side Windu. Enjoy your dark side points, Samuel.
Well, the other thing is, visually, I quite like the idea of... You remember, there's a shot in the trailer for Phantom Menace that never makes it in to the final movie where the Gungan army is sort of marching through that smoky swamp, through all the mist.
Yeah?
So what I quite like the idea of is lightsabers in the mist. And it doesn't need to be for very long, but I like the idea of Vader being on his own somehow in this swamp, coming across this apprentice man. And this is how you get trailer shots and things as well. In the distance, you just see the green lightsaber go up. Then it goes to over Vader's shoulder. The red saber goes up. And that's your... Vader, a Star Wars.
Yeah, I was about to say, Rogue One's already shown us that give Vader a fog machine and he is banging.
Yeah.
Looks amazing.
The Vader fog machine needs to have... I think lightsabers just look cool in the smoke machines, really. So.
Most lighting does. So a really explicit lighting source like that. I think Rogue One, they literally have, in the behind the scenes, they say how they have a big red light in front that they have to time with the lightsaber coming on.
Well, also, have you seen the behind the scenes stuff for episode 7, I think more than episode 8, but definitely episode 7 when they're in the woods.
Yeah.
They actually use the ones which are the fluorescent tubes now, a bit like the Force Effects lightsabers. Mate, those look good on camera anyway. That's your lighting source right there. And okay, you can do a little bit more. You can add to it, like you say, you can have a red light in front of it, you can have a blue, or I like the idea of it being green. I can't quite...
Green versus red is classic Star Wars, that's fine. Blue versus red is more classic. But
I think green versus red makes you think that the green guy's going to win.
I suppose.
And then I want the following to happen. I want it to be a swift defeat. Like, the idea is that at this point, Vader is a true badass, and it needs to make it more of a surprise.
It's less of that.
He's caught off guard later.
It's less that he's a true badass now. It's that the first section of the film has challenged him, and now he's in a moment of complete superiority to remind us that, yes, he's Lord Vader, master of the dark side, all that nonsense. So, one thing that I want to mention that I have a thought about Vader and why, because I keep coming back to this, I'm sorry, but this is my tangent. The idea of not being able to picture him in a chase. I don't think of Vader as a velociraptor. I know that sounds stupid. I think of him more like Jaws. He's an ominous, lurking threat, more than something that's going to chase you into a kitchen. When you have that moment where we've discovered that it's the apprentice and he's fled into the swamp, you have that kind of almost horror movie like camera shots of like him running around in the swamp, and he's got his bolt hole and he finds it and he peeks his eye out and you just see that black silhouette in the fog and the lightsaber going up. That's something where Vader is already, like, in terms of the actual logic of the situation, he probably had to do some catching up. But for us, visually, as an audience, he's just this ominous monster that is always waiting. So that's just my one thing of, like, showing Vader in a chase would be difficult, for me, personally, in the way that I imagine the character.
I was going to say, actually, I've got an idea for how that would then happen. So to facilitate this small fight scene, if you wanted to call it that, because it wouldn't be a big fight scene, you would need to have Vader's detective work lead him to one of the rebels' outposts.
Like a safe house, yeah.
Yeah. And it could be empty, but I quite like the idea of it just being this one guy who's there, and what you were saying, which is he gets left there on purpose by Windu, and he doesn't really understand that. That's never really properly explained, other than that he is there as a diversion.
Wow. We have talked for a while. I've still got so many questions.
Keep going.
So this is beginning to get quite specific.
Yep.
What specific this is still part of my antagonist thing, sorry. No. What specific weakness of the protagonist does the antagonist exploit in order to try and gain the upper hand?
The fact that he is unsure about his place in the world, but also the fact that he wants to kill his boss.
Okay. Clean answer. How does this attack escalate throughout the film? We already kind of know that.
Because the attacks literally escalate throughout the film.
It's a very direct physical confrontation in this case.
It's an action movie.
Yeah, exactly. How does the story world... This is a separate section. Sorry, I'm doing a bad job of flag posting these. How does the story world play into the specific themes of the story? And we discussed this a little bit.
So I said location. As a joke before when you asked me these questions, but now you have some. What I meant, right?
It sounds like we have some very literal visual metaphors as well. Kind of. Not only do we have like the pristine city of Naboo being, or the war-torn city of Naboo.
Thank you, because that's part of it as well. Is that Naboo is war-torn, and the idea is that we've seen it in the prequels looking clean, despite supposedly it being war-torn. But the battle droids don't do a very good occupational.
They don't bomb anything. What are they thinking?
Exactly. This place is going to be relatively in trouble. It's going to be very representative of modern civilizations that have that problem, where someone has come in, a group of rebels or an exterior army, and has destroyed the place. And that's going to be a big thing. So, visually anyway, is that there will be that palace place that you recognise, but everything around it will be in ruins.
On a smaller scale, I think there's a lot of opportunity for some pretty strong visual metaphors. Like, an example would be, for me, the throne room bizarrely being completely pristine.
Oh yeah, no.
When Palpatine's
the main throne, the main palace building is fine, but it's surrounded by stormtroopers. And has like walls and like sandbags and stuff.
It's a fortress.
Yeah, it's become a fortress. And there'll be like chips away at the outside here and there, but there's not going to be anything too bad until this bombing happens, at which point there will be a chunk of it missing, a bit like the Pentagon.
So I feel like this is just one of those things that I'm going to spitball off the top of my head. But here's an example of how you have location play into theme. Let's say he's gone through the big fortress walls into this palace, and there's the big sweeping like staircase up to the top, and there's big statues on either side. And you can have a moment of Vader kind of stopping and then looking at the statues and seeing that they've all had their faces taken away. Or you could even go so far as to set it up to show like an early version, an early part of the film, he goes through, he sees the pristine palace, all the ruined statues, literally some of them can be entirely missing their heads. And then later when he's in the war-torn bits, he just finds an intact Amadudar head. And it's like, oh yeah, that's my wife. I killed her. Whoops.
Mistake.
Maybe elaborate on that moment a little bit more than I just did.
Well, I like the idea of him trying not to think about it as well. That's the thing, because let's be honest, that's part of what he's doing as well, and that is part of his weakness is, okay, there is still good in him, but he's trying not to think about it, but he can't help but think about it. So you need to convey that by having him maybe be distracted at a moment that he shouldn't be later. Maybe
I was about to say, during one of the action scenes, it can be a kick in the balls to him. Not that he has those left anymore. No. Probably.
He catches fire from the stomps first.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of other things about the story world, the setting, but I feel like we've covered those.
Okay.
So I'm going to move on a bit. And this one is something we've very thoroughly explored already. Secondary characters, allies and opponents.
Yeah.
So we've already very thoroughly discussed the Fett reveal.
Yep. The Windu reveal.
He's not a secondary character. He is our antagonist.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
So
The evil Jedi Master.
Yes. However, we've also discussed kind of the secondary opponent, which is the apprentice of Windu, who is, it turns out, a disposable tool.
Yeah, he's not really good for much.
Well, no, we could have him show some kind of like promise, like, he takes the proper Jedi stance or whatever, and he looks like he's going to be a fight. Then just Vader destroys him. So there can be that kind of moment of, oh, is he actually a proper... No, he's not.
No.
He's not a proper Jedi. There aren't any left anymore. That's the point of the film. The Jedi are dead. The ones that are remaining aren't Jedi anymore, Mace Windu.
Which is set up earlier on with the I love you line and then comes back around with the full dark side. So the idea is that the Jedi have been truly defeated and they have let go of their beliefs and they sort of are normal people now.
The way I would phrase that is, like, the Jedi Code has been defeated.
Yeah.
And now it's just killing the people. The mythic warrior caste has been dismantled. What else have we got left on this list? We've got a fairly easy one here because of the way the story is structured, is kind of like that detective Act 1 reveal, Act 2 reveal, Act 3 multiple reveal. What is the set of revelations that the protagonist must confront throughout the story? So we've already got the prologue revelation where Vader's like, oh, I've got a little bit of normal person left in me. Yeah. You have to deal with that.
I found that upsetting. Why did I find that upsetting? That shouldn't have been upsetting. I'm a dark side master. I shouldn't find anything upsetting. Yeah. I'm upset.
I just gained a Paragon point and I don't know why. I'm mad about it.
I killed a guy and it made me better. Why? Yep. Yeah, exactly.
Why indeed? So you've got the prologue revelation, which is a kind of introspective one. You've got the Act 1 revelation, which is people are totally trying to kill the Emperor. Let's go find out who. Here are the methods they're using, etc. You get the kind of very physical show of force. Act 2 revelation is, oh, I've caught the Jedi, but it's not the Jedi I want. And Act 3 is the stuff we talked about. Turns out Mace Windu's alive, and Boba Fett's alive. And we decided not on Qui-Gon.
No, or Darth Maul. No Qui-Gon.
No Qui-Gon, no Darth Maul. No episode 1 callbacks here.
Right. Except the location
and everything else about the film, Even down to the poster of little Anakin and the Darth Vader shadow.
Yeah, no, I was going to say the poster is going to have no characters on it. It's just going to say, I don't like sand in big letters.
That would work. I was more thinking of having Darth Vader there, but with a little Anakin shadow.
Maybe.
That would look weird. I don't know how they'd handle that, but it would be interesting.
I say maybe. That's me politely saying no.
No.
It's just got to be that fiery lightsaber
with his hand
down a corridor with Needles and Renya on either side of him, because like we say, they're slightly distinguished looking. I'm leaning
they're visually stylized.
Yeah, them being the ones that I talked about earlier, where there's the one who's got the Jedi's crossed off on his helmet. I do feel like he's called Needles, but he doesn't actually have any needles on him. Like, there's no real reason for that name, because the obvious thing would be to have spikes coming out of like his gauntlets and things like that, but I don't think that's necessary. Maybe
I'm sure there's somebody at the Disney Star Wars storytelling group, which is a thing, like their official board of writers, who would sit there and go, so we dug into the lore, and in one of the Extended Universe's books, page 37, there's an obscure reference that 3 fans will like. We're going to call Boba Fett Hilltop in this one for reasons. Why so Hilltop? Those 3 guys will get it. In the same way that why Needles? Because. Whatever name ends up being used. I personally like Needles.
I like Needles just because the idea of Vader going, Needles! It sets him up. So when he says Fett with respect later, it's turning that relationship a bit on its head because, okay, he likes these 2, but he holds them in utter contempt. But I like the idea of Boba Fett is so utterly obsessed with the idea of killing Mace Windu, he's keeping his identity a secret from everyone. Definitely his boss.
Yeah, definitely his boss.
Because you go, did you know a Jedi killed my dad? A, you're a clone. How do you have a dad?
Good question.
B, because I thought about this as well. I thought about him having that conversation with Darth Vader, maybe going, a Jedi killed my father, and Darth Vader going, that's weird. These guys don't have fathers. Forget about it.
You could have him phrase it like, a Jedi killed my mentor. Like one of those kind of like, I totally shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, I don't think that needs to happen.
No, it doesn't.
And again, I think that Fett is so on point that like you don't get it really from anything other than The Empire Strikes Back. But he is so on point. He doesn't slip up. He doesn't make mistakes. He does exactly the right thing at the right time, except being stood near a Sarlacc pit when Han Solo turned around.
He made one mistake in a long career of no mistakes.
And it got him swallowed by a giant asshole in the desert.
But then he broke out and...
Absolutely.
The Solo Fett, a Star Wars film. Anyway...
that's for you to do. You need to do that one.
Yes.
Any more questions?
I've got 2 more.
Okay.
So this one, I think, is actually an interesting question that we haven't really covered. After Act 2, after the apprentice reveal or whatever, is when about this kind of lull in the story would happen as we're building towards the climax. What is the protagonist's lowest point? Their apparent defeat, or, probably in this case, apparent victory that leads into the dramatic climax of the story. So either they've fucked up, which isn't really the case here,
No.
although it is revealed that, we've caught the guy. I'm not the guy, kill him. Back to square one. So that could almost be the apparent defeat.
Also, I think the lowest point is using the Emperor as bait.
Yes, I was about to say, because that's the natural progression. Well, I've run out of options. I'm just going to use my boss. I'm going to put him on a hook, wait here with my line and sinker and see how it goes.
And yeah, that definitely, it works. It works a little too well, as discussed, because by the time he gets there is a room on fire and loads of dead bodies all over the floor. And he's like, could have got here 5 minutes ago, really, I think.
Yeah. I was busy brooding over my dead wife's statue. God damn it.
Damn it, dead wife. Stop haunting my dreams!
My final question, which is something we've covered in some detail. How does the final battle unfold? I don't think we really need to discuss this any further, but it turns out, indeed.
I like final battles, so
Yes.
I put a lot of effort into putting that.
It's the most important part of the film.
Yeah, and lots of these Star Wars movies, and I mean ones that I have watched as a child for the first time in the cinema, like Episode 1, great ending, even if the rest isn't that good. You've got Episode 2, poor ending, some cool lore building, but not a great movie. Probably my least favourite of the Star Wars.
I'm shocked you would say such a thing. That was sarcasm to anyone who doesn't understand British English. Carry on.
3, Revenge of the Sith.
Amazing final battle.
Absolutely. In fact, I used to not feel this way, but I feel 2 amazing final battles. Even the Emperor Penguin versus Yoda, that one has grown on me a lot, because they're fighting for the ideas of the universe, and they're doing it in a place where all the ideas of the universe are discussed and decided and the rules are set. And visually and thematically, I really like that Yoda Emperor fight a lot more than I used to. But
okay, that's strange.
The choreography in the other one is so slick. It is the culmination of, okay, you thought Darth Maul was cool, the fight in 3, way, way better. It is so awesome. The only thing that they do wrong there is have that stupid bit where they spin their lightsabers and then force push each other, and that's really, really lame. But the rest of it is so good.
From my point of view, the Jedi are evil.
I don't like Sam.
Maybe punch up some of the dialogue. George, you really needed to workshop some of that stuff. Okay, so the real important question from this final battle section bit. How does this event fuel the self-revelation our protagonist's been working towards throughout the whole film? And we've already discussed that as well, because it's the moment where he sees, the Jedi really were a load of fucking hypocrites.
Yeah.
Look at Mace,
from his
a so-called Jedi Master. You could even do a callback of James Earl Jones's voice saying, from my point of view, the Jedi are evil. I feel like if you wrote that in, I would accept it.
Yeah. But you also sort of don't need it.
No.
Here's the time you can use that line. The time you get to use that line is during the interrogation between the apprentice and Vader. Just saying, that's you're the worst. You're evil from my point of view. The Jedi are evil. Again, I think this apprentice character works quite well in the trailers.
Yeah.
I think that's what he's there for. Action figures and trailers. Other than that, not much good for anyone.
Apprentice action figure, brackets dead.
Yes.
Ant-Man, brackets giant. Like, it's just that kind of thing.
It's called Ant-Man.
Yeah, I try not to think about that. We're getting sidetracked. Stop it, Disney.
With all your intellectual property, hurry up and buy Fox and have even more intellectual property.
I'd be fine with this.
Yeah, and then buy our Darth Vader script, because you've got all the money and we've got all the ideas and none of the money, so you won't have to give us much and we'll do whatever you ask.
It sounds like the one thing we're missing is
Jar Jar Binks.
I will kill you. With this final battle and the everything unfolding as it does, one thing that's missing to me is the treat the audience like an idiot moment where the stakes of the battle are spelled out. So we have Fett's kind of culmination of his story, but it feels like Vader, who's been defeated in this battle, technically speaking, apparently he explodes multiple times.
Yeah, he gets fully destroyed.
He is fully defeated, but he has some kind of moral victory here. How do we communicate what Vader's victory has been to the audience? Is it in a debrief with the Emperor afterwards, or is it with his conversation with Fett?
I think
that's the one remaining question I have about this entire idea.
Those two things are. So the victory is that he has earned his boss's respect by not protecting him when he really should have, because that is the Sith way. The Sith way is for the apprentice to replace the master, and it's not his time yet, but considering that, he did a really good job of it, and he set everything up to be that way. Palpatine says he's basically proud of him, or explicitly says that he's proud of him, and that is the moment of victory for him, because he's not been sure why he's been doing this. And this may sound really stupid, but evil, tyrannical dictators who have a master or a mentor will desperately crave that person's approval no matter what.
Oh, absolutely.
And the fact that he's getting it, we as the audience will all feel slimy about, will feel uncomfortable about the Emperor being so smarmy, especially as he's been so horrible throughout, because we know what he is, and we know what he's all about, and we know what he's like, and we know what will happen to him and with him in the future stories, and we know that his destiny is to be thrown down a Death Star shaft, a well, by Darth Vader, and the reason the Emperor is suddenly being nicer is because it almost happened. So that's the Vader victory. The Vader victory is he almost kills Palpatine, because what would have happened if Vader hadn't been blasted by Force lightning by Windu is that, okay, maybe Boba Fett would have shot him in the back and then gone for Windu and then gone, ha, I killed him, not you, and then pieced out. But that's not what happens. But that's not what happens. What happens is Vader is soundly defeated to facilitate Boba Fett being the hero of the movie, even though he is also a scoundrel scumbag, and he has been even more manipulative than Vader because he has to be, because he has less resource. So the hero's moment between them afterwards, as you say, is kind of more of a mutual respect thing. Now he knows who he is and what he's all about. They're not on the same level, really, power-wise, or, like I'm saying, resource-wise. However, Vader now knows that Fett is a really, badass guy, and he is one that when he puts his business card on the table and says, if you need me, call me, I'll be calling you. As soon as there is a big problem that I can't quite handle, I feel
like it's almost a moment where Fett decides, no, I'm going to go independent. I've gotten everything out of what I needed here.
But I know you've got a lot of money, and I'm a bounty hunter.
You've got a lot of money. If there are any other Jedi, because you know I enjoy the sport.
The truth is, exactly. Yeah. The truth is that Vader's still got the 501st.
Yes.
And he may not have Renya, who was like the shining star pupil. Yeah. He may no longer have Fett, who it turns out was like the best trooper he had the whole time, who's literally the purest descendant of Jango Fett that exists, who was the best soldier in the galaxy to the point where they made an army out of him. Which, again, they don't quite cover off very well in Attack of the Clones. They just have him sort of get dispatched. So the whole idea of this, and like I say, the moment, and maybe it can be the triple blaster, maybe not, I don't know, but the idea that there's Sam Jackson, who has Force lightning and a robot hand and could quite easily get to his lightsaber via Force pull if he really had time. Before he has time to do anything, before he has time to react in any way whatsoever, I know he's been shot in the back, but before he has time to do anything, he is completely de-limbed, essentially. Now, we're not going to have bits flying off him, but you get my point.
No, you just hit his pressure points or something.
That's it. And that is all in the space of 1.5 seconds.
So, I have a feeling we want to wrap this up.
Yeah, we probably should, because otherwise I'll just keep going on about how badass Boba Fett is.
Yes, I'm kind of amazed that you managed to turn this into a Boba Fett story rather than a Vader story, but I like the merging of the two.
And like you say, it neatly sets up them doing a Fett film, and it gives Fett a bit more...
My one remaining critique of the ideas is I don't know how I feel about the Emperor ever appearing weak. Because
he has before.
So the thing is...
That was my thinking about it too. I was like, how do I A, make Vader look weak, and how do I B, make the Emperor look weak? And the only person who's ever stood up to the Emperor, other than Vader, is Windu.
So my problem with that is my interpretation of the original Episode 3 confrontation between Windu and the Emperor is not that Windu wins that and then Anakin has to come along and intercede, or intervene rather. It's that the Emperor knows this is going to happen and is using this moment to turn Anakin.
Okay.
Because after all of that, after he does the lightning that makes him ugly, he just gets right up and is like...
That was good, wasn't it?
Good job, Anakin. You're now Darth Vader. Easy. Yeah. And everyone in the theatre went, ooh, at that moment. And mission accomplished. Good job, George. Well, good job, Ian. More than George. But I feel like I have a problem with Darth Vader even appearing weak. Because he's meant to be the ultimate samurai space badass ever.
He's the Shogun's assassin.
His boss should probably never have any moment of confrontation that he can't win. But I do like the idea of the history repeating itself element, where it's a test for Vader, that in a way he kind of lose-wins.
And the point where Windu's about to kill him, he jumps in and saves him and says, no, I'll be the one who destroys him, it could be followed by a little Emperor. A little McDermott.
Indeed.
Yeah. A little Dermot-y grin.
Interesting.
Grinny and McDermott.
Yeah, I still don't know how I feel about Vader being so soundly trounced in the ending.
He's not.
But I get that.
He wins the fight, and he then loses because someone cheats. And because he is explicitly a robot and not very good at lightning. And the bad guys in Star Wars movies, it's been established, have lightning. And okay, so you're Mace Windu and you're studying for this thing, and you know that chances are, if you want to kill the Emperor, you've got to take on Darth Vader. And you look into Darth Vader and you're like, that might be Anakin. If not, it's a very powerful Sith. He's definitely a robot. I need something that, in a pinch, can take down a robot.
For me, it's less of a world-building lore thing. It's more of a mechanical thing where, how do you sell to the audience that this is a victory for Vader?
It kind of isn't physically a victory for Vader because he lets his guard down in a way.
How do you
lets his guard down? It's that he gets caught off guard. He genuinely has no defense for that. He doesn't.
No, again, I get that. But to the audience, the sequence is essentially Vader loses
after winning, because he wins the fight.
He wins the physical lightsaber battle.
Yeah.
The overall actual final battle, he loses because lightning happens.
Yes.
So he loses. It's not that he wins and then he loses. He's just overall, he's lost.
Okay.
And without Boba Fett intervening, he probably would be dead. How do you reconcile that to an audience who wants this character to win?
I don't think you need to.
I think that's dangerous with a character who is established as a badass.
I think that there'll be maybe a handful of people, and I agree with you here, who disagree with that as a choice. But I think that a bit like turning the Luke Skywalker role on its head and having him throw that lightsaber away and reject training Rey at first. I think you need to fuck with these people sometimes because they deserve it, because they're a bunch of whiny little live with their mum bitches, including us. And I think that...
Last Jedi was fine, you're all stupid.
Ooh, that's the most controversial thing we've said yet. That's more controversial.
I said fine, not good. You're not allowed to burn me at the stake just yet.
Yeah, it's true.
It was distinctly average.
Yeah, the casino bit wasn't good, but I did like the bit where they all had a fight in the room on fire. You may have noticed that I used that again.
I will throw back to my original review of that film, which is it's simultaneously the best and the worst Star Wars.
I don't know, Attack of the Clones still exists.
It has some lower points than even that. On that note, Darth Vader loses, gets a pep talk from the Emperor at the end, who reveals that this was all a test all along. And also, can he get Fett's number? That guy's great. Cut to black. Boba Fett will return in Avengers 4 Secret Wars. I think that's all we've got time for.
I thought they were going to call it Avengers Forever.
Avengers 4, Thor didn't win and we're all mad about it.
Yeah, should have aimed for the head.
He needs another haircut. Yes. Wow, we're shit at wrapping this up. It's the end.
We've been wrapping this up for a while.
It's the end. Vader, a Star Wars story. Starring Vader. That's the only person. And then at the end he wakes up, it was a dream all along. The end. Bye!